Good evening, friends. How are you? You survived the rain. Thank you for being here. We have a short, quick, fun program, and then we have time to network in the back with some drinks, so make yourself at home, make some friends. I see some of you got stickers, so that's wonderful. My name is Molly White, and I'm the Senior Director of the Education Program at the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute. And on behalf of the Institute, our co-hosts at the UNFCCC, and the Together for Transparency campaign, I welcome you to the celebration. So this seems very formal up here. We can go a hoo-ha, like give me a little hee-ha, or whatever you can shout out, because we need to bring the celebration mode into the room. I also want to thank the COP30 presidency for hosting us here in Brazil. It's wonderful to be in Belém for this special occasion. And I just kind of want to get a sense for which type of alumni are in our room right now. So if you're in this room and this is your first time at an alumni celebration, stand up. Okay, we have some newbies, yay! So round of applause for all the newbies in the room. Okay, if you've been to a celebration before, please stand up. Okay, see, this is my trick. See, now you're warmed up, right? So you got to move. Okay, all right, I like this. Okay, who in the room, if we're gonna do, who has expertise in energy waste IPPUs? Stand up. Okay, all right, about half the room. Okay, who in this room has some expertise in agriculture, land use change, and forestry? Stand up. Okay, okay, nice. Next year we need a little more foresters in the room, maybe a little more agriculture. Just saying, invite your friends, you that stood up. Okay, how about, who has been helping their party in the negotiations this week, or last week, I should say, because today is Monday? Guys, let's give these guys a round of applause. I mean, really, we thank you, and thank you for getting out here. So tonight, we get to celebrate a significant milestone, 10 years of the Paris Agreement, and a decade of alumni leadership in advancing climate transparency and action. And this really is your celebration. I mean, all of you stood up, so this is really about you. And if you didn't stand up, you're probably a friend of one of the people that did stand up. So I wholeheartely thank you. It's incredible the contributions you've made to operationalizing the ETF. Really, that is a huge piece of the Paris Agreement that you all have operationalized these last 10 years. We're now 10 years in, and its success requires the continued commitment to climate MRV capacity around the world. So now is not the time to pause, but to leverage and increase your own capacity, but also you all have expertise in this room. It's to encourage others to leverage and upscale their own capacity. Our collective pride and fellowship and common ambition among you in this room, our alumni who have trained with GHGMI and the UNFCCC these last 10 years, will propel us into the next decade of climate transparency and climate action. 2025 has been a critical year for our alumni. Just this year, we engaged over 1,800 alumni in technical expert review and over 700 new alumni in greenhouse gas inventory and mitigation training. So gosh, let's give all 1,800 of you a round of applause, and 700. More importantly, all of our alumni have made significant strides in helping their governments, helping their companies, measure, report, and verify greenhouse gas emissions. We sincerely appreciate your commitment, which has been instrumental to the ETF success. We have a short program today, so I'm giving like kind of these high-level remarks, but we'll start out with my other co-host at the UNFCCC, Jigme. He'll give us some remarks, and then I'm gonna invite 4 of your peers up here, and honestly, any of you could be joining us up in this room, but we have 4 that are gonna come up, and they're gonna share a little bit about where they've come, what training they've done, and how they've tried to engage in climate action as a result of the work they did in measuring, reporting, and verifying greenhouse gas emissions. So before I turn the floor over to Jigme, our executive director at the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute was able to record a message for you all. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to travel, but we do have a recorded message, and we'll just play it now.
Hello, I'm Michael Gillenwater, Executive Director of the Greenhouse Gas Management Institute. Thank you for being here today, and thank you to the extraordinary work each of you does to advance climate policy around the world. I want to begin and express my gratitude to our Education Program Director who organized this event, Molly White, and our entire team, including Alyssa, Mate, and Richard, that make this event possible, and especially to Jigme for the Climate Change Secretariat Transparency Division for his long time collaboration, as well as everyone on that team. I do want to especially recognize our invaluable partners, of course, the Climate Change Secretariat, ICAT, and all the governments from around the world. We have entered into the era of the Enhanced Transparency Framework. The first biennial transparency reports are now past due, and coming cycles of that process will determine whether the Paris Agreement succeeds or stumbles. And that success depends on all of our commitment, all of our work. Your work remains the critical pathway to achieving meaningful global GHG emission reductions. I deeply believe that. And I'm deeply proud of what you do and this broader community that's growing and professionalizing. One of the new things we're establishing is a rigorous professional certification program for GHG MRV experts, the EPGHG. The purpose is to create a formal career pathway for the next generation of climate professionals. This is the staff, the future staff of national MRV GHG programs. It's about more than just creating another round of credentials or certificates. It's about building lasting institutional capacity, the professional capacity to continue this work and to advance it. Lastly, I just encourage you to enjoy this time together and celebrate in a beautiful part of the world. Connect with your colleagues, talk about how we can build and do better in the future, and know that GCMI will continue to be there to help you do all that you do. Thank you.
All right, round of applause. Thank you, Michael. If you were not here, but thank you for those inspiring words. Now I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Jigme. Many of you know him in this room. He's the manager in the Transparency Division of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Secretariat. Under Jigme's guidance, his teams provide essential technical assistance, particularly to developing countries on measurement, reporting, verification arrangements under the ETF and under the Paris Agreement. He also has a lead role in intergovernmental negotiations on transparency issues concerning developing country parties. I know that Jigme is deeply committed to the capacity building that is needed to ensure that developing country parties receive the support that they need to prepare and submit their BTRs, their NDCs across the board. And this work really connects to all of you in this room. So Jigme, I hope to one day be able to visit your country of Bhutan. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jigme to the floor. So Jigme, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Molly, for this warm welcome. If you are expecting to hear inspirational words from me, then you will be disappointed. I don't have any to offer. I just came here just to be part of this celebration, because this is about celebrating, coming together to celebrate our success story. So how does this success look like? The transparency has gone through 30 years of journey under the convention. And that 30 years of transparency work under convention has culminated into 8 rounds of national communication by Annex 1 countries. On top of that, since 1999, they have been submitting annual greenhouse gas inventories. And then as a result of our collective decision in Cancun and Durban, we added additional aspects to this MRV that translated into 5 rounds of additional reporting by developed countries. At the same time, from developing countryside, non-Annex 1 countryside, till date, the success story includes 480 national communications and 209 final update reports. So that's the story under the convention. Now let's move to Paris Agreement. And as of today, we have 119 BTRs, of which 44 BTRs have gone through technical expert review. And 12 countries have gone through this process of facilitative multilateral consideration of progress. So when you put all of these numbers together, it's quite impressive. But then also, we sometimes forget the amount of time and resources that have gone behind. Now, if we just stop at these numbers as a matrix of our success story, then I think we would be missing a big part of that story. Because there are a lot of other success stories of our journey, 30 years plus years of journey, which are sometimes not really visible at plain sight. For example, work on transparency has been very effective mode of capacity building on the job training. Capacity building that transcends beyond world of greenhouse gas inventories, because parts of the transparency includes assessing mitigation potentials, assessing vulnerability, impacts, risk, coming up with coping strategies, coming up with cost-effective mitigation measures, and translating them into national policies. All of this happens under this broad umbrella of reporting, and those, I believe, are equally, if not even more important, part of these success stories than the report itself. That story also includes this belief, which is now becoming more and more mainstream, that transparency facilitates data-driven decision-making, that transparency promotes stakeholder engagement, and that transparency promotes international cooperation. And all of this, it's happening. We have been part of all of this in one form or shape. So there are a lot of success stories, and I think we need to find ways to capture this good story and share it with community beyond what we see here, beyond Transparency Group. So I just came here to take this opportunity to thank each and every one in this room and also those around the world for playing instrumental role, for contributing to these success stories that we are enjoying now. And this includes, your contribution in terms of developing policy framework and operational rules through negotiation process. I'm sure some of you must be coming from the negotiation room. And again, transparency practitioners here as well as around the world have been playing instrumental role in making sure that the policy framework is there, it's robust, and it responds to the purpose that it is set for. Also, thank you for participating in the national effort to prepare reports. Some of you might have contributed as a government expert. Some of you might have contributed or will be contributing as a consultant, but that's still a contribution that you are making in terms of, getting these reports up and running, and in the subsequent rounds, improve the quality. And also your contributing your time to participate in reviews. Again, this is one of the core elements of the transparency framework. Going forward, we will need significant number of reviewers, and this is something that we would be depending on you, those who are here, as well as around the world, and also helping your delegation in prepping for FSBs or FMCP or multilateral assessment. All of this, these are your contribution, which sometimes gets lost in bigger thing. But I think those should be well acknowledged, and for that reason, I wish to thank all of you. Also, I want to thank Greenhouse Gas Management Institute for creating this space to come here together, which allows us to momentarily take a step back from our busy schedule and celebrate this success story here. Yes, these are all well and good, but our mission is not complete yet. And at a minimum, all of us should aspire to ensure that the momentum that we are experiencing now, momentum to implement the enhanced transparency framework, the success that we are experiencing, that momentum is sustained. And in order to sustain that momentum and keep it going in future, all of us will have a part to play. And that part could be a very small one, but that's an important contribution, part that we will be playing. Second, we have to make sure that no country gets left behind. Right now, 119 BTRs countries have submitted, which means there is still a good chunk of, a good portion of countries that have not managed to submit their BTRs for number of reasons, any number of reasons. But but for that system to move forward as in the full implementation mode, I think it will be in all of us, our interest to ensure that no country gets left behind. And that's not simply for the purpose of meeting the commitment under the Paris Agreement. That's mainly because transparency has a lot to offer nationally, the national benefits. Before I conclude, I want to really take a moment to acknowledge the contribution of Michael and Greenhouse Gas Management Institute. Greenhouse Gas Management Institute, under Michael's leadership, played a pivotal role in capacity development of national experts. And your contribution to, you have contributed to the professional development of most, if not all, reviewers that we have now in the system, including myself. I had, the first time that I met Michael was in July 2006, when I came to Bonn to do this review exam. Obviously, back then, both of us were younger. Yeah, so just to acknowledge and on behalf of all of us to extend our sincere appreciation, a big thank you to Michael and Greenhouse Gas Management Institute for your contribution. We do have strong track record of collaboration, and I hope that we can maintain, if not even, improve the collaboration, spirit of collaboration that we have now. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Jigme. And I know that, Jigme, you have to get back in that room. And can I just say you should grab a beverage on your way out, and maybe you can enjoy a beverage on our behalf as you make it to the other room. So again, thank you to the UNFCCC and the whole UNFCCC team. Really, it's incredible the work that you do under limited means. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, okay. All right, and now we get to the heart of why we're here to celebrate. We get to hear from a few of our alumni who embody this impact and this collective effort. So we have some distinguished panelists that I'll invite to the floor now. Let me first introduce João Rafael Gomes. João, come up to the stage here. João is an advocacy and climate policy professional with Wildlife Works in Brazil and an alumnus of the GHGMI Under 2 Coalition Training Program. Next, I'd like to invite Kevin Bassoa, head of the Mitigation and Climate Transparency Department at Chile's Ministry of Environment. Welcome, Kevin. Kevin is an alumnus of Course 501 and Technical Expert Review Courses A and B1. Our third panelist, we have Eulampius Frederick. Come on up. He is the Chief Technical Officer of the Policy Planning and Administrative Service Division at St. Lucia's Department of Sustainable Development. Eulampius is an alumni of courses 501, 551, 521, and also some trainings with the Caribbean Cooperative MRV Hub. So Eulampius, you've done a lot of training, so welcome. And then finally, I'd like to welcome Jodia Rawon. Oh, I almost had it. I practiced, and Nakoni from Botswana. She's a PhD candidate, atmospheric and environmental physicist at the University of Botswana, also a climate negotiator, an alumni of courses 501 and 541, as well as technical expert review courses A and B1. Whew, guys, a lot of training here in the room. So welcome to the panel. I'm going to kick us off. I'm going to ask each of you a question. And then maybe you can respond. And to the audience here in the room, I did say we unfortunately don't have interpretation services in the room. But I wanted to give any of you, if you would like to speak in your native language, please. We have native speakers of other languages other than English in the room. So please feel comfortable speaking in whatever language you are most comfortable in. With that, Joe. Okay, our audience here might not realize that you've been over to 6 of these international meetings like this, and you focus on community-led solutions, particularly with indigenous partnerships. So you work at that intersection of advocacy, policy, and conservation right here in Brazil, guys. Can we give him a round of applause? Community-led advocacy right here in Brazil. Could you share with us a highlight from your greenhouse gas accounting training and your journey since? And I'm going to do this so that I can keep mine, and maybe we can, if we run into issues, we'll correct it. But.
Olá, boa noite a todos. É uma grande satisfação, agradeço o convite. Nos últimos anos eu tenho trabalhado bastante com a Amazônia e eu nasci na Caatinga, né, um bioma exclusivamente brasileiro. E ter tido a oportunidade de trabalhar na Amazônia foi o meu segundo orgulho, porque os nossos povos originários, eles são tão importantes quanto o trabalho que fazemos aqui. E para a gente é muito especial a COP30 ser no Brasil, é muito representativo. Eu acho que a gente está num período geopolítico bastante importante para as discussões ambientais e climáticas, então nada mais necessário do que a COP ocorrer aqui em nosso país. Mas voltando ao tema da pergunta, eu lembro que foi no ano de 2021, quando a gente teve a oportunidade de fazer o curso com vocês, e eu lembro que a nossa equipe ela ficou muito interessada no curso e nos corredores, a gente conversava bastante sobre as questões, e apesar da gente não ter desenvolvido um projeto ou ter um número concreto a respeito daquela experiência, eu recordo muito bem do quanto aquilo agregou bastante o nosso conhecimento técnico, o quanto aquilo contribuiu para os nossos documentos técnicos e para as nossas discussões serem mais consolidadas, digamos assim. A gente chegava nos espaços com uma clareza muito mais representativa, e isso só foi possível graças à plataforma educacional. Eu sou um defensor das plataformas educacionais, eu acho que elas quebram barreiras, então eu, falante de português, consegui participar do curso oferecido por vocês, consegui dialogar e compartilhar a experiência com os meus colegas, então eu espero que essa iniciativa siga perdurando e siga alcançando mais pessoas e mais comunidades, porque, sem dúvida, a solução climática ela passa no âmbito da educação e, sem dúvida, é muito importante o trabalho de vocês e que vocês possam seguir aí promovendo todos esses conhecimentos e fomentando os conhecimentos dentro dos núcleos e dos núcleos das pessoas que vocês conseguem alcançar. Então, eu estou muito feliz de estar aqui, conhecendo as pessoas, enfim, que também fizeram parte desse processo, e eu espero aí que nos próximos anos esse grupo seja cada vez maior e que a gente continue multiplicando esse conhecimento com outros grupos e com outras pessoas. Então, como brasileiro, estou muito orgulhoso pela COP no Brasil, muito orgulhoso também pelo convite, que as plataformas educacionais continuem sendo um instrumento eficaz, não só de política pública, mas também de incentivo e de inspiração para a nossa sociedade. Obrigado.
Thank you. That's wonderful. So Kevin, we'll move to you next. Kevin's our engineer on the panel today, so round of applause for all you engineers out there. Yeah, there's probably a few of you. Chile has been a leader in climate transparency in Latin America. You in particular have been in the trenches of preparing national reports and building institutionalized systems. So could you share your experience? How has training that you've received supported Chile's transparency journey, and what have been some of the key challenges, key breakthroughs as you see them?
Yeah, thank you, Molly. Well, I'm from Chile, so I speak Chilean Spanish, so probably it's better to speak in English. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, well, my journey into accountability of anything related to climate change began with air quality issues. In fact, I started working in all climate change since the beginning of the Paris Agreement, so I have also 10 years of work experience, so I born with a Paris Agreement. So I start working on child climate forces, and then I enter I entered to the Minister of Environment to help to develop a GHG emission inventory. So it was like a more like the same kind of work. But the thing is, in order to provide good information to comply with transparency, you need to be really structured, really following some rules, and that was not so clear for when you're working with sort of like climate forces at that time, at least. So. The beginning with working with GHG inventory was a challenging because it was another language, another type of information that you need to put in the reports, another structure that Chile has been working a lot of time. In fact, my former boss was one of your staff, so he helps a lot to me to understand how was the logic to develop transparency instruments, transparency reports. So that was a lot of help, but in fact, when I started doing these courses or these lessons, it was really helpful because we have a problem in the UNFCCC. I will say that we treat with a lot of acronyms or unique words that you read a word, a paper, I don't know, and you have like 10 acronyms. If you are not familiar with that, you are lost, completely lost. So with these courses, you start from the beginning. We start with the basics, and we establish a baseline for all the students to really know well how to develop transparency documents or reports or whatever you want to call it, and that is really helpful about the courses. And when you go deeper in some other courses more related for inventory, for example, you have a lot of really good information that helps you a lot to understand what are you doing wrong, for example, in your country, what are you not taking into account, what are the possibilities that some activities could or could not happen in the country. So it's really helpful to translate all this information from the IPCC to a more like a practical things to the convention. So it's really helpful to go for all the courses. I didn't have the opportunity to go for all the courses, of course, but I looked through the most of it, and it's really good information. I have some other experience in a more like a bilateral kind of training, but it's the same information. They say I use the same information as these courses, so it was really good prepared, and I always recommend all my new colleagues to engage with these courses and take it, because it's really, it is a lot of information. You don't have the time to like train a person one-to-one, so these courses are really good build up and really give you like a baseline, and in other cases another level of knowledge that is helped you to, like I said before, build this transparency report and also the GHG inventory.
Thank you, Kevin. How many of you in this room can relate to that acronym list? All right, so now we're going to move to Eulampius. Gosh, one of my favorite memories was being with you at the Caribbean Cooperative MRV Hub Summer Academy. It's such a highlight of my work. You've been working with the government of St. Lucia for a long time, and you also have a like social background, social science perspective background. And small island developing states are unique in the challenges that they have with climate transparency, often with much more limited resources and some of the highest stakes in climate action. So could you reflect on your journey too, both as a social scientist and then also with this greenhouse gas measurement, reporting, and verification training that you've done? How has that helped you support St. Lucia's work?
Thank you very much, Molly. Good evening, everybody. In St. Lucia, we have a second language, which is actually French Creole. The month of October is celebrated as Creole Month. So, but I'm not too sure if many persons in the room would be able to understand French Creole. If anybody's from Haiti.
Any show of hands?
If anybody's from Haiti, the Seychelles, Mauritius, Dominica, Martinique, Guadeloupe, nobody? Okay, so it will not do
Next
for
time,
me to,
Eulampius, next time we'll get them
it will
here.
not
Yeah,
do for
yeah,
me to
okay.
speak in French Creole, so I will continue in English. I have a rather interesting journey, and I'm really, really thankful to the Caribbean Cooperative MRV Hub and likewise GHGMI. Back in 2020, which everybody remembers to be COVID year, St. Lucia was undertaking its biennial update report, and we were kind of lagging behind. We were one of the later countries to submit our first BUR. And so it was work from home. Everybody was kind of wondering what's happening with COVID, but we had gotten a consultant firm from the United Kingdom, Aether Limited, to really lead the way for our biennial update report and, of course, the corresponding national inventory report. And it was whilst we were doing that and having the validation sessions, my UNFCCC focal point said, hey, Eulampius, I want to sign you up for the Summer Academy for Caribbean Cooperative MRV Hub. So I said, what's that? He said, well, when you join, it's 8 weeks. You will see what it's about. So I joined not knowing what am I getting myself into. Then I met Dr. Olia Glade and some other good lecturers who basically introduced us to emissions factors and activity data. And I said, this is really interesting. And I remember when I did finally come to the capstone event in October 2022 in Grenada, everybody was surprised, what are you doing in a social ministry with all this climate science background that you need? So it was a rather interesting journey undertaking that summer academy. This is where Dr. Olia Glade introduced us to the UNFCCC GHGMI online IPCC training courses. So I went back to my UNFCCC focal point and said, hey, sign me up. I want to do cross-cutting issues and I want to do IPU. So that is where I started doing the studies for that. And everybody was warning me, telling me, hey, you have lots of equations to remember. And those exams are a challenge. They literally made me afraid even before I began the program. But to be honest, I really enjoyed the studies because it took me back to my high school and advanced level studies of chemistry. You really have to know your stoichiometric chemistry, your organic chemistry, especially to undertake the IPU, because you need to balance those equations. And I particularly enjoyed it because it brought me back to my chosen career. I mean, yes, I was in the social ministry, which is a plus, which is a benefit, because I understand the softer side of sustainable development, which is your social pillar. But I really enjoyed getting back into the chemistry and understanding the importance of these things. And from there, I did succeed in getting all my certificates. And in line with sustainable consumption and production, the whole circular economy, I said, okay, from IPU, I now want to do waste. So I took the waste course in 2021. And all of this was helping me to participate in the validation sessions for our biennial update report, which we eventually submitted on December 30th, 2021. And then came the capstone event in Grenada, where I met Molly and several other colleagues. I remember the guy particularly from Antigua. It was really nice seeing him at the IPCC 61 in Sofia, Bulgaria. So, you usually bounce up with the usual suspects at those different conferences. I think it was July 2023, again, I had the opportunity to attend the UNFCCC GIR CAST training program in Seoul, Korea. And this is where I met some more colleagues. Even one of them is seated right here, Pamela. That's where I met Pamela and several other colleagues that I also saw in Sofia, Bulgaria, likewise. So it's a wonderful opportunity for networking. It's really great, and it has enhanced my career. Eventually, Department of Sustainable Development said, no, we can't give this guy all this training and leave him at Ministry of Equity, Social Justice. We need to bring him over. And this is why they eventually brought me over as the Chief Technical Officer, primarily advising both the Minister for the Environment and the Permanent Secretary on all matters, because the training actually has given me a very broad perspective of different sectors, and I'm really looking forward to doing the energy training course with GHGMI. I am interested in doing that one next. I must add that in September 2024, ICAT was having the Enhanced Transparency Framework training. So I think it was, again, 8 weeks of studying virtually with ICAT, and they had the on-site 3-day training in Bonn itself. And this is where I really realized, okay, enhanced transparency, the BTR, and now there's the training for the BTR. But what I forgot to mention was I completed the 16th round of the biennial update report training that the TTE normally carries out. So it was the final training for the biennial update report, and I grabbed it quickly. I did every single module, every single module. And so I really got excited, and it's all thanks to starting off with the Caribbean Cooperative MRV Hub and the Summer Academy, graduating onto the GHGMI UNFCCC online IPCC program. So this is how I progressed along, and it has been a wonderful journey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Eulampius. Thank you for sharing the journey and the stepwise process, and also sharing how the network of other alumni has like kind of helped you along and like gotten you. Shout out Pamela. All right, next we have Jody Ravon. Can you say it? You say it. How does it say? Jodiron. Okay. Jodiron, I was reading your bio, and I just have to share, guys, with the audience here. Jodiron is the first Botswana woman to receive the prestigious L'Oreal UNESCO for Women in Science Award. How cool is that? We're like, our PhD candidate here. And you bring the African perspective to our panel today, and have experience both as a practitioner and as somebody in the field working on this. So can you share your reflections on training and the journey that you've had there in Botswana?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My journey with GHG inventories and all this started way back, I think, years ago when I was still doing my master's, thanks to my the late Professor Adidoin, who was one of the IPCC authors at some point. So, because of my profession as a physicist, it was easier for me to get roped into the energy sector. So the very first GHG inventory I was involved in, it was in the energy sector. And then we finished our aspect, and then I got to realize that my colleagues were struggling on the Afolu section. I remember we had to spend like literally the whole night in my office, and then I'm like, but what's going on? Why is it so difficult? So that is when my interest in Afolu was ignited. And then moving forward, then later on when we heard about these trainings from the JGMI, all this 501, 541, I then deliberately chose to do 541 because I just wanted to understand, why is this thing so difficult? What's going on with it? So it gave me an opportunity to learn more about it. So since then, I did 501, I did 541. I'm currently doing Transparency Expert Reviewer. I've done with Course A, I've done with B1. I'm ready for B5 exam. And then at the same time, currently, I'm also involved in ICAT IPCC software training for Africa, which is what we are currently doing. And at the same time, right now, for my country, we delayed in doing the BTR1, so we are currently doing our GHG. In fact, we almost just completed now. Now, that has been my journey. Now, back to the trainings that I underwent, that I just mentioned, and some I probably didn't. I could talk about the technical insights that I got in. I could talk about the practical skills that I'm sure everybody here got. But for me, the major highlight was from the professional growth aspect of it, especially since they presented an opportunity for capacity building. I mean, that is what the whole drive is all about, capacity building. And so what we did, so it presented this opportunity for capacity building, looking at the fact that our JG inventories in the past, they were done like with consultancy. And that brings about challenges because a consultant comes during that cycle of inventory, they do what they do, and then they go, and then they wait for the next cycle. Who knows? It could be some other consultancy who come. And then that will bring challenges like consistency in data collection, in archiving, in presenting like challenges in time series reporting and all that. So then what we did, we were like, okay, these trainings are giving us an opportunity. So what did we do with the team? We were like, you do a follow, you do IPPU, you do this, you do that. So we seized this opportunity, and 6 of us trained in different aspects, covering all sectors of the inventory. And that actually helped. So for me, honestly, this whole thing, I'm so grateful. It was that professional growth aspect and capacity building that would limit our reliance on consultancy as a country. That opportunity, that is what I'm grateful for. And that was my major highlight.
I love it. I love it so much. I love that you sat in a room and you're like, you do IPPU, you do waste. I think we can all share in kind of that, how that goes, how that meeting goes. And I love hearing that the training is the thing that gave you the empowerment to take on new skills and grow in your own profession. So that's amazing. Okay. I think most of this audience wants a beverage. So I'm going to ask that this one be short. And we can just start with you again, since you have the microphone down at your end. Can each of you, 1 to 2 sentences, give an example where you've seen that your work on transparency lead to climate action in your country?
Okay, it's a good question for me because it's basically a continuation of what I said.
Okay.
So what I can say is our strategy worked. Of saying, you do this sector, you do that sector, you do this. Why am I saying it worked? It's because for the first time this year in 2025, our team was now officially recognized as the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory Team. Like, we are now into the system. So to me, that's a milestone, that's a climate action that is really good. What does it mean? It basically means we'll no longer rely on on consultancy to do this. It means there's continuous reporting. It means there's sustainability. Like right now we are doing the GHG inventory. And then whatever gaps that we see and all that, it means even after we submit this, we continue the work, we prepare for the next one already. So for me, that is a climate action that resulted from all these trainings. And the end goal of all this thing, of course, is that we get quality GHG inventory. And with a quality GHG inventory, it means we now feed into the NDC's accurate emissions for NDC tracking and reporting. And once we get the NDC tracking and reporting right, it basically means this will inform Botswana climate action or climate policies. And for me, that's a success.
Great. That's great. Simple as that. Okay, Eulampius, what would you say?
Okay, St. Lucia began its 4th national communication, preparing its 4th national communication to the UNFCCC this year. Likewise, we are now working on our biennial transparency report. My involvement with all of this different exposure and training has encouraged other members of the government public service to pursue trainings as well. And I know you may be familiar with Miss Benise Joseph, right, from Caribbean MRV Hub. So she has undergone quite a bit of training herself, and she is an in-country expert. Likewise, we have also seen the development of policies. The Cabinet of Government Ministers has issued several conclusions that have actually, you may call it economic instruments that would encourage persons to start procuring goods and items that would reduce on greenhouse gas emissions. So for example, your motion sensor lights, all these different types of devices, there have been some incentives on these because most times you find this very, very expensive. So persons can now purchase those and get discounts, etc., because of the policy action that has taken place. So we still have room for lots of work to do because unfortunately we have called Aether Limited again. So we have not been able to advance as far as Botswana. But eventually, we are working to build a cadre of in-country professionals that we can eventually develop a team just like Botswana has, and we will not have to rely on consultancies in the future. Thank you.
That's great. Olympias, Kevin?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to be really short, but the thing is that I arrived to the team when almost all the stuff were, the major challenge were they have been dealing with this in the past. So I arrived in a stage where we have to implement the enhanced transparency framework, and I did a lot of planning to do so. So that is mostly my major contribution to the last cycle, for example. But in a way, all the cycle that is all the inventory is related to all the climate policies related to mitigation. For example, we have this national inventory that is related to the emission projection system, that is related to the carbon budgets that we have in Chile, that is the compromise from the NDC, and we also have this national inventory that is also linked between the the carbon footprint system that we have, and also is linked with the carbon markets team that we have for the Article 6. So all is linked to the inventory, and the inventory needs to be done properly. So I think that is the most important thing that I brought to the team, and all the team also work a lot. But the thing is, you need to do the things. All the people see the inventory, and so and see like 30 bars in a spreadsheet. I don't know. But they say, it's easy work. But when you really do an inventory, when you really do a national inventory document, you realize how much work is done, how much work need to be done, even if you are continuing the past work, because always are new things to add to that. So that is the major contribution and an important thing to do to actually implement the enhanced transparency framework properly, and also to develop a good inventory to serve other areas that are important to climate action.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And last, Joe?
Quando eu tive a oportunidade de fazer o curso com vocês, eu estava em um governo da Amazônia, e eu lembro muito bem que o tema da transparência, enfim, a preocupação com as emissões de gases era uma questão bastante latente, e eu também recordo o quanto as informações adquiridas com o curso contribuíram para o enriquecimento dos nossos próprios conhecimentos, e que certamente acabaram estimulando a construção da política pública à época. E conhecimento é uma coisa que a gente não desperdiça, né? Então, tempos depois, e agora no setor privado, e trabalhando na agenda de RED+, a gente continua tendo uma preocupação com o nosso planeta, com o nosso clima, e a questão das emissões é, de fato, uma questão que precisa ser enfrentada o quanto antes. Então, hoje nós temos líderes mundiais reunidos aqui no Brasil, em Belém, e isso é muito significativo. Então, todos estão conhecendo a Amazônia, estão compartilhando dos mesmos problemas, das mesmas preocupações, e volto a dizer aquilo que eu falei no início da primeira pergunta: que bom que vocês se preocupam e estimulam plataformas educacionais. Eu acho que a gente não faz mudança na política pública, a gente não faz mudança na sociedade se a gente não investir em educação, seja ela educação formal, seja ela, enfim, a educação que estimule a gente ter um pensamento crítico sobre o mundo que estamos e o mundo que queremos. Então, que a educação possa ser esse instrumento, possa ser essa força, e que a gente consiga, de fato, promover a mudança que tanto necessitamos. Então, muito obrigado, e é isso.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Round of applause for Brazil, for Chile, for St. Lucia, for Botswana. Really well done. And gosh, thanks for sharing your stories, and because I think everybody in this room can relate to them. So without further ado, here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna do a toast without our beverages. So it's gonna be like we're gonna host the fake beverage in our hands. Then I'm going to invite all of you to also join us on stage, and we're going to take a group photo. and then we're gonna go to the beverages. Sound good? Okay, so everybody stand up. Here we go. This is very important tradition to uphold. If you remember, there were a couple COPs where we weren't able to get catering. I just have to give a shout out to the team here. Alyssa, Mate, Richard, they helped get us some beverages here. It was no small feat. The room guy, he was saying, this is the first time we've had beverages in this room. So I think you guys need to take a bow. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you for being here tonight and for everything you do to advance climate transparency. Raise your glass to the alumni of GHGMI and UNFCCC programs, hee-haw, to 10 years of the Paris Agreement and 10 years of your leadership, to thousands of reports prepared, the policies informed, the capacity built, and the collaboration fostered, to the next decade of climate transparency and action, and to everyone in this room today, the practitioners, the technical experts, the consultants, the champions, the people that make transparency real, and to, honestly, the fellowship and the friendships. Honestly, from my heart to your heart, the friendships, it means so much. Thank you, and let's sustain this work the next 10 years. Cheers, cheers. All right, so now, woohoo! Now you all need to come up. We're gonna do group photo, and then we go to the beverages, so come on up.